All right, hey everybody, it's been a long day. I'm cleaning up after the Agua Dulce Country Fair. You can see from them clips that I had a good time. I want to thank my family and my friends that come out to support me so we could put on a show for you. It's really important that the community knows I have a sense of humor, and I get out there and shake hands and hold babies and stuff. But, you know, the parade is over, and it's time to take off this clown suit I got on and get to work. Now, the first of my campaign videos, you're going to see me at work in the school board meeting. And I think this is a good one to start with because I'm actually discussing the budget with the chief business officer. Now, every September, the school district goes through what's called the unaudited actuals, which is the finalization of the budget before it's turned into the oversight agency that looks over our district, the Los Angeles County Office of Education. Anyway, we run through the budget in the board meeting, look things over, and approve the draft of the budget before the auditor comes in and goes through it with a fine-tooth comb. When you sit on the board, it's really handy if you have some knowledge of what's going on. That 5 years I spent out in the audience before I was actually elected helped me out a lot. But even with that, when it came time for me to run for office, there were things about the budget that I didn't know. And there was actually information I was finding it hard to get my fingers on. One of those things was charter revenue. How much was it? I actually finally learned what the charter revenue, how much is coming in off the charters, from a statement my opponent in that election made during a candidate forum. Now I always tell people, and like I said in my candidate statement, that'll be a clip that I will show here in the next week or so, that sitting on the school board is not about you, it's not about a clique, it's not about position or power. It's actually moving the district's business ahead in the interest of the education of our students, our local kids. The bottom line is, in the interest of the business of the district and keeping things level, I ran through the budget with the chief business officer. So if you didn't know the budget and you couldn't be there, well, here's another opportunity. I go through the whole budget rather quickly and pick out some high points, and we have a good exchange, and our chief business officer is a very knowledgeable person and can answer questions on the fly. So I'm going to put this stuff up. Watch this video. I want to remind you at the end of the episode there's going to be a way to get a hold of me. There's links below to my Facebook page and my candidate page. If you're interested in any of that, just click on there. And at the end of the video, you're going to see something pop up in the middle. That's a subscribe button. If you hit that and I release a video, you'll automatically be notified. I'll put a playlist together that will also be there. Give me your comments. Give me a like. Give me a dislike. Even dislikes tell me you're watching what I'm saying. I always appreciate your feedback. Most of all, I'm going to appreciate your vote on November 6th. I'm Ken Pfalzgraf, and think about me on November 6th. Now, here we go with that clip, and I'll see you next time. Okay, so I'm going to refer not to the individual pages in the document, but the overall pages. So when I say page 6, that would be anyone can access this the same way. Unaudited actuals report, there we go. There's the tab. So this is how you would get to this off the district website. So up on the top, you'll see that there's page 6. I have quite a few things, but they're quick yes and no's. We're going to see that there's a CEA deficiency amount right there. What is the likelihood that we'll get a waiver for that?
We met with legal representatives the other day. It has been approved in the past.
Cool, thank you.
So we would be hopeful that it would be approved again.
Let's go to page 9. Okay, from looking at these numbers, it appears to me that out of a budget of about $14 million, that 23% of the budget goes to things other than admin salaries, classified, and teacher salaries. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
So we're a tad less than 80% on salaries and administrative costs, and the rest of it is books, supplies, and services. Okay? Let's go to
One
page,
second, real quick on that. What changed from the 88% that we were at before to this number now?
Honestly, when I do the math for all the years, it stays about this amount. I'm not sure, maybe in the past it was 88% of the
Do
budget.
you recall that number? Because in the past, that's what we've always been told, that it's 88.5%.
So it could potentially have been if the salaries were the same, but the expenditures, total expenditures were less.
What I mean is, could it be the way we count it?
It could be.
okay,
So, can I pull on that thread since it's the same question?
yeah,
Okay, so, the other expenses that we're talking about here and the ratios. The other expenses include some of the fees that we expend to help us manage the charters?
Yeah.
Okay, so it comes in on the positive side of the equation as revenue, but we also have legitimately expenses associated with it. And so it can actually skew our percents.
It could in the sense that if in fact, you know, we have a position that may have been a district position and it is determined that it's more financially responsible, or perhaps we don't really have a need for that position 40 hours a week, but at certain times, that would fall, those consulting comes under the 5,000s. So it would fall in a different place.
I've got some questions about position controls that we'll get to. Let's go to page 23. There's 4 categories there, and these are how the administration is billed out. Is there anything there that's not just strict salary and benefit to the administrator, any of it?
Well, financial audits, you know, board and superintendent also includes things like, you know, for example, if the board goes to a conference
Okay.
to get training, that would be under the.
So my point here is what the audience should grasp here is because it says that it is the administration fee, that it does not all go to salaries. Would that be accurate?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. We'll go to page 25. Now we get into position controls. What I would like to see at some point in the future is you see that there's a number of positions defined across the page, just general ed and special ed. I think that at some point in the future when we start breaking these position controls down to capture the things that Mike is talking about, that we have a position that supports the charter over here and do this, and we start assigning percentages of positions to document that Shay and maybe Lynn's financial expertise is captured and it's kind of assigned to those funds. This is just a comment. It's not nothing that you need to do right now, but that's something I would like.
Right, can I just add that?
Yes.
We would have to do on a special sheet because this is actually pulled out from the SACS code. It's defined in a certain way.
Okay.
We do track it by using a location that's separate.
I know that some have been very critical of us that we just take the money in and you know where I'm at about costing. You capture cost and then it becomes justifiable and people come in and say, well, what did you do? Well, here's exactly what we did. We actually support our charters. Something else that doesn't get captured here is the English learner part. It doesn't seem to capture that we would be doing English learner diversion and things like that in the classroom. So I think generally it would be good if we could capture this, and it sounds to me like you've done that in the background. Let's go to page.
In the background, we just can't there because that's specifically referring to bilingual education. So the way, like, we would have to, and this is actually defined by a manual about 500 pages long in the auditor. So
Isn't education finance wonderful? Also on this page, it appears that our transportation numbers up, down, or stable on the ones that, it looks to me like the number of kids we're transporting. Is it remaining stable?
The number of kids we're transporting is pretty stable, yeah.
Good.
We did actually have a bit of an overrun on cost for transportation last year. We used charter buses more than we had in the past.
Okay.
So we're trying to manage that this year.
So my ears will go up when the numbers go way down. The cost remains the same to run the buses and the staff, and then we start having to go to parents for subsidies. That would be something I'd want to know about. Also on, okay, you've already answered this one. Let's go to page 45. My question here will be, where does the charter revenue show up?
Wait, I'm catching up.
Yeah, mine is numbered differently, but charter revenue would show up in local revenues.
Good, thank you. Also on page 46, it appears that SPED mental health, the bottom is dropped out of the funding source to the tune of 90%. Now,
It's actually included in a different resource now because the state included it into a different resource.
Okay,
and
so-
by resource, I mean the number that you quote.
so what I want to point out to the crowd here is when I say something dropped out by 90%, look at the actual numbers. That can be very misleading. How much is $50,000 if you have a student that's very disturbed like me? It doesn't go very far. But here's an example. The number is 50 and it drops to 5 and it looks like a huge something or other, but in reality, in the overall picture, it's not that much, but it does.
What page are you?
It's SPED, it's line 3.
What page? I got lost on it.
Page 46.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so that's got dropped into somewhere else, and the behavioral supports that we have in the classrooms and stuff are still going to be there. Good. Page 60.
Yeah, actually, just to clarify, as far as, with reference to the behavioral support, the district, all districts do it. It's called a contribution. We make a contribution from unrestricted general fund into restricted funds.
Okay.
So students continue to receive the services.
Perfect. It shows here that the fund balance transfer amount is up 828%. That means to me that we're bouncing funds around from fund balances, and do you see it?
Sorry, it's pretty little.
Page 60.
Mine is numbered differently, so let's
654%. Is that what you mean? Oh, 828.6%?
So
Uh-huh.
why are we bouncing funds from one to the other? Does that mean that?
It's actually, what we do is we actually, well, 18-19 is a different budget. So what we're doing is we're actually depositing funds into there for deferred maintenance. That actually comes from the unrestricted.
Okay, thank you, good.
So in theory, yes.
Page 62. Well, sometimes when you see fund movement that's out of the ordinary, you start going, who's rat holing money and why? 62, consulting services up 17%. Has there been an offset in like, say, for example, cost savings of staff? We haven't filled positions. And for example, where we used to have a facilities director, and also the HR part, that the only person that's ever worked for HR that I actually cared for in my entire life, Mr. Walt. We've been saving some money there by doing consulting.
Yeah, he would actually be coming out of a different fund, but in theory, yes, the consultants serve two purposes. One, because we don't necessarily in all cases need a 40-hour position. So
I think that's key to the point I'm making about the admin costs.
But the other thing is because the people that we have as consultants in the district are very, very experienced in their jobs. And so part of the other piece that they're doing is that they're working alongside some of our newer staff members to make sure that they can transfer their years of experience and knowledge. You can go to classes all day long and take, 3 years to complete a program, or you can work alongside someone who's able to give you direct help.
And sometimes in the case of Mr. Walt, he has no horse in the race when it comes to some of the unpleasant things he deals with. Let's go to page 89 and talk a little bit about developer fees.
Okay.
What I kind of want to talk about here is I want everybody to see just that huge dollar amount that's coming in to fund our whatever it is. Looks like developer fees dropped off 50% down to about, or 48% down to about 50,000 from 100,000.
Okay, again, remember that these are two different, so yes, remember on the left-hand column, 17, 18, those are unaudited actuals. That's what actually happened. In 18, 19, we're looking at 52,000 because we feel it was very, very unusual to have a year.
So you're
where we got-
conservative in your
Yeah.
projections, but
We're
none,
basing it on last 5 historical years before this.
historic regression, good. So in any event, even if you took both those columns, you wouldn't have very much to do anything around here. That's my point.
Unfortunately.
Page 115, plant services. I don't think we're talking about palm trees here.
No. We're
So I
talking
take it
about
this is
facilities.
facility maintenance,
Yes.
and it looks like we have a 47% drop. So my question to you is this number kind of fed by a plug-in that says, if this cell says this and this cell says this, the formula is affected like this? So this is indicative of the actual money that we would have to paint a room or change light bulbs, or the very basic maintenance of things. Would that be accurate? Okay. So everybody see that number?
Well, what it says to me, Ken, is that if we want to do anything substantial, we need a bond. We don't have
Well,
money to do.
I didn't go there, but what I'm saying is that number right there is what you have to fix things. Here's my problem, and it's not anyone's problem. When you build a new high school, there's a minimum number of things that you have that need to be kept up, or it goes down. And that's just called basic floor level maintenance. And when your maintenance funds are low and they appear to be decreasing because some other offset in the budget, that throws up a flag to me that just because the high school is new, maybe you don't do the floor as much as you need to, or maybe you don't paint, or maybe you don't check the roof as much as possible because you're trying to fix that panel right there, or take down Vlad the Impaler's fence outside, and you don't put the money back into the maintenance required in the beginning. So I think that paints an accurate picture of where we're at. So the bottom line for me is this: your expected reserves over 5 years have been shown. I want to remind somebody that about 4 or 5 years ago, when we were going into negative certification, the difference between negative certification and positive certification at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, was about $100,000. So it's not these huge numbers that you hear and think that, so a glitch somewhere along the way when you don't have good ADA and that kind of thing, things can get out of control really quickly, because as we discussed before, there's only 20% of the budget that is within your means to spend, and very little of that is discretionary. You have curriculum and things like that to consider. The charter revenue, my only question about that is, are we still highly dependent on SPED services being supplied to our charters, or has the balance more worked out to where this is just basic oversight and
About half of our charters currently take services for our local SELPA.
okay?
About the other half use a different SELPA.
So local SELPA means us or AV SELPA?
Well, AV SELPA. So we are part of the group in the SELPA NAV. About half of our charters are part of the AV SELPA because they choose to receive services through us and be associated with us. The other half are through a SELPA called El Dorado.
So the reason I bring that up is it's always my concern that if you're holding yourself out as the charter SPED overseer and provider, I think there's liabilities that go with that, and I'll leave that at that. If I were to ask you today, right now, just a quick off-the-head number, what's available for facility maintenance right now?
For maintenance?
Yeah, just maintenance. I want to paint the wall, I want to fix the air conditioner, just district-wide. Throw the number out there. I've got air conditioners to fix. Acton's or Agua Dulce School is horrendous. So I want to paint everything. I want to do some, just, whatever. If you don't have the number, that's cool.
Well, it would be whatever's in Fund 14 is different. And it sounds like you're talking about deferred maintenance.
Yes.
You're talking about, like the whole air.
I'm not talking building anything. I'm just saying something breaks.
Anything.
Right.
Well, Agua Dulce School, through the MOU, is responsible for their own. We delivered a school that was in.
That didn't work last time, so I don't think it'll work now. But what kind of roughly, what is the number that we have that's available for annual maintenance for all of our school sites?
I would have to get back to you.
Cool, thank you.
I mean, I could look in here in a moment, but.
No, I don't want to do that. Just, I don't hear you yelling out, there's millions of dollars.
But I don't have it memorized off the top of
Cool.
my head.
Gentlemen, thank you for being patient. That is all I have. Lynn, thank you for being really good at this and conservative in your projections. Thank you.